Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And this is the third news on 19th March newspaper front page lawn. Fazal Nawaz agree to go ahead even if PPP leaves the PDM. By Amir Wasim. Islamabad, 2 days after announcing postponement of the anti-government long march due to the Pakistan People's Party (PPP's) rejection of the proposal of submitting and mass resignations from the assemblies and in an effort to keep the opposition's alliance intact, Pakistan Democratic Movement (PDM) President Maulana Fazlur Rahman on Thursday separately talked to a former President Asif Zardari and Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz PML and Supreme Nawaz Sharif over telephone. Sources in the three major opposition parties confirmed to Dawn that the Maulana, who is also head of the Jamiatul Ulama Islam JUIF, talked to the leaders of the two parties over the issue of the resignations and the proposed long march. The sources said Mr. Zardari who had forcefully opposed the idea of quitting the assemblies during the meeting of the heads of the PDM parties in Islamabad on Tuesday and told the Maulana that the PPP had decided to convene a meeting of its central executive committee and CAC after a public meeting in Rawalpindi on the occasion of the death anniversary of the party's founder Zulfikar Ali Bhutto on April 4, in which they would again review the proposal of submitting resignations from the assemblies. According to sources in the PPP, both Mr. Zardari and Maulana Fazl once again tried to convince each other on the issue of en masse resignations. However, Mr. Zardari reiterated his stance that they should not come out of the assemblies as much as such a situation would only strengthen the hands of the establishment, the Prime Minister Imran Khan. Mr. Zardari also expressed concern over the decision of the other PDM parties to link the resignation with the long march and the Prime Minister, the former Prime President, drew the attention of the Maulana to the agreed plan of action in the multi-party conference held in September last year, which clearly stated that the resignations would be the last option, and for this purpose a committee would be formed. Mr. Zardari, the PPP's sources said, told the Maulana that the PMLN and other parties had suggested resigning from the assemblies, believing that by doing so, they might block the Senate elections and prevent the government from taking a majority in the upper house of the parliament. However, he opined after contesting the Senate elections, the issue of the resignations had already become redundant. The Maulana told Mr. Zardari that the PDM component parties would wait for a final reply from the PPP after its CEC meeting before making any decision. Later, the Maulana talked to Mr. Sharif, who has been living in self-exile in London for more than a year and apprised him about his conversation with Mr. Zardari. The sources said that the two leaders also discussed the probabilities in case the PPP decided to stick to its previous decision of not resigning from the assemblies. The two leaders, the sources said, were of the view that the PDM should continue its struggle against the government and should go ahead with its plan even if the PPP decided to formally formally part ways with the alliance. They agreed to convene another meeting of the heads of the PDM soon after the PPP's CEC meeting to discuss the future strategy. The cracks within the ranks of the 10-party opposition alliance had become visible on Tuesday when its leadership announced postponement of the March 26 anti-government long march due to differences over the issue of the resignations. An upset-looking Maulana Fazl had certainly left the press briefing without taking questions of the reporters after making a brief announcement that the PPP had sought more time to reconsider its position on the issue of en masse resignations and until the time the PPP would come back after an in-house discussion in its CEC, the long marches stood postponed. Before leaving the venue, the Maulana had disclosed that 9 parties were in favor of resigning from the assemblies during the long march, but only the PPP had some reservations over the thinking. He said the Pakistan People's Party had sought time to discuss the matter again in its CEC, which had been granted. The sources said that in the PGM meeting, Mr. Zardari had made a submission of resignations conditional on the return of Mr. Sharif on the country. The PPP leader, in his speech, launched political attacks on Mr. Sharif and highlighted his own sacrifices, stating that he had spent 14 years in jail. In the meeting, PML and Vice President Mariam Nawaz had defended her father in a forceful manner and categorically declared that her father would not return unto the country to put his life into danger. The sources said that the Maulana was unhappy over the proceedings of the PTM meeting in which the PPP and the PML and the two arch rivals of the past once again made some personal attacks against each other. Speaking at a ceremony in Peshawar on Wednesday, and the PDM president had expressed annoyance over the PPP's attitude, saying it should have respected the opinion and viewpoint of the 9 parties. He had also indirectly criticized the PPP for leaking the proceedings of the meeting to the media, saying that the discussions in such meetings are always kept secret as a trust and leaking the proceedings account amounts to the breach of trust. Again, speaking at a function in Islamabad on Thursday, without mentioning any name, and the Maulana said that those who were afraid of going to jail should not have joined politics. It is a weakness to say that I can't go to jail now. How will I fight? If you can't fight, then why you have joined politics? The Maulana said without any reference, adding, if you are in politics, then you can find both power and jail. The Maulana once again asked the establishment not to support the government. Your job is to defend the country's frontiers and not an illegitimate government, he said. And in the end, the formal request, if you have not yet, please subscribe our channel and press the like and bell button to get the fresh from us. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time and goodbye.